Hello, Schmoville. Well, we're trying to get out at least one or two a day on the Podcast Archive channel. We are firing through phase 2 of the podcast. There have been some really great interviews over the last... I've just listened to all these again. It's really fun to listen to. This one was... It really... It was a building block to what the Schmoes are now, because we had on the editor-in-chief of Rotten Tomatoes, Matt Atchity, who Mark and I had ran into at a couple screenings and became friendly with and started talking to him, and they said, hey, you should come on the podcast. And while he was on the show, during this episode, we asked him about what it would take for YouTube movie reviewers to be certified on Rotten Tomatoes, because there were never any YouTube reviewers certified on Rotten Tomatoes before. And we had a nice chat about it. And Matt kind of breaks down what it takes in general for a critic to be certified on Rotten Tomatoes and kind of how he got the job there and what he went through. And then we get into YouTube reviewers, and he kind of, and this was where it started. At the end of it, it's pretty cool, where he pretty much says that it looks like we're going to get certified. Lo and behold, a few months later, Mark and I became the first YouTube movie reviewers ever to be certified on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was all because of this podcast you're about to listen to. So it was a lot of fun re-listening to this. I'm like, oh man, that was cool to hear that. Matt's just a great dude to talk movies with overall. He obviously, you're the editor-in-chief of Rotten Tomatoes, you better know your stuff. And he does. You hear him, he breaks down stuff. He's a movie fan, and he's not, you think, oh, maybe he's just one of these kind of like very snooty kind of critics. He's not. He's a down-to-earth dude who just loves movies. And when you hear him, hopefully you are refreshed that a dude like this is running Rotten Tomatoes. So there you go, guys. And make sure, again, listen to Phase 5 of the podcast, April 3rd from 7 to 9 p.m. PST on schmoesknow.com. It'll be live. We'll take your phone calls, the whole deal. Going to have a giveaway contest on the main channel as well, so make sure you tune on there. Thanks again, and enjoy this episode of the Schmoes Know podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Schmoes Know podcast. I am Kristian Harloff.
Hey, kids, Mark Ellis.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Catherine Reitman.
Oh, she jumped in this time. It's been taking us too long to get to her. So
With so much yapping in between.
I know. I
Get
apologize.
to it, you know what I
Well,
mean?
we like to have a friendly schmo banter, and then Catherine comes in. About the 45-minute mark, she can
I'm
come
sorry,
in and
I'm
say
here
words.
every week. It's time for credit where credit is due.
true.
I was noticing a trend. I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, you've been showing up a lot.
All right, you guys are talking too much. Listen to me. I wanted to introduce our next guest. That's on the podcast this week. Actually, we just met this guy not too long. It was probably like 2 months ago.
A couple months ago, but the relationship has blossomed quickly.
And it is an honor to have him here. He is the editor-in-chief at Rotten Tomatoes, Matt Atchity. Hey, Matt, how are you, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, Matt is not only is he the editor-in-chief at Rotten Tomatoes, he's a huge film fan. I mean, this guy knows we sit there every screening that we see Matt, and we probably just bullshit about movies for the good duration of before it starts.
Yeah, I mean, who would take a job like I have if you hate movies?
That's true. That's
A very good point. Very good point.
Unless
I'm more of a ship in a bottle kind of guy, but
that's actually great to know. Like, how did you get involved with Rotten Tomatoes? Like, and how did you wind up doing that?
So about 4 or 5 years ago, probably just over 4 years ago, I had just wrapped up a business I'd been working on with my dad and somebody else. We had a music business online, which we thought was going to be an awesome idea, but nobody else did. So prior to that, I'd been covering entertainment on the web for 10 years, and saw that the job as editor-in-chief, there was a listing for Rotten Tomatoes. I knew a bunch of the publicists. I knew a bunch of people in the industry. I'd worked at Yahoo Movies for a while.
Right.
I'd worked at AOL way back, had done some stuff with Extra Online. And so I, said to some of the people I know, it's like, oh, you guys got to get me in front of the people hiring over here. This would be great. I got to get back into covering movies.
And how many years ago was that?
This was 4 years ago.
So
where does one see the Rotten Tomatoes post? Is that like a career builder or something, or is it like Craigslist?
It was something like that. Yeah,
Really?
It was on. I think it was on Monster.
Okay.
I actually still have a profile up on Monster.com. Yeah, occasionally.
and still not getting called for.
I don't get anything. Yeah, I got a Family Feud audition. That was it.
And it's funny, the first time we met Matt, we found out he was editor-in-chief. Mark and I were just like, right away, we're like, because I don't know if we told you briefly about the show.
Right,
right. And this was before Matt's time. Because Mark and I actually...
Not your fault.
It's not your fault. Do not blame Matt. Do not blame Matt. But it actually worked out for the best. But yeah, we had some interactions with Rotten Tomatoes. But now, so what are your overall duties as the editor-in-chief?
It's been an interesting time over there for the last couple of years because we had been, when I started, we were part of News Corp.
Okay.
Part of Fox. So Rotten Tomatoes, the brief history of Rotten Tomatoes was it was started about 13 years ago. It was independent and then acquired by IGN, the games guys, right? Great guys.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
At about less than 6 months after that, I think, IGN got acquired by Fox because Fox had this whole big digital initiative that they were doing.
Right.
Once they bought MySpace, they were buying a bunch of other stuff. So Rotten Tomatoes was now part of News Corp. Then that lasted for a couple of years. News Corp sold us off to Flickster.
Right.
And we were part of Flickster for a little over a year.
Like
and then,
foster kids.
Exactly. And then Flickster got acquired by Warner Brothers. So now we're back under the...
And then Warner Brothers acquired by the Galactic Empire.
Right,
It's soon
exactly.
to happen. It's a big deal on Cloud City right now.
So the funny part was when we got acquired by Warner Brothers, there was all this news like, oh, those guys at Rotten Tomatoes, they're going to start giving good
That's what I
reviews
was just
to
gonna ask
Warner
you.
Brothers stuff.
Yeah,
It's
that was gonna
like,
ask you.
have you seen what we've been saying about some of the Warner Brothers
Right.
movies this year?
Like J. Edgar, you weren't a huge fan of, right?
At J. Edgar, there's a bunch of movies. If you look, and it's been in the press, like our answer to the press was, if you look at the tomato meters for some of Warner Brothers movies this year, you can see clearly we're not...
Objective.
And Warner Brothers obviously,
Yeah.
when they purchased, said just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, and that was the other thing is, I would say to people like, oh, you guys are going to, we'd see things like blog posts like, oh, they're going to totally lose their independence. They're going to totally be pawns of the man. I'm like, did you know we were part of News Corp? Did you
Right.
know? I mean,
Right.
if
Speaking of the man.
right, like if Fox was leaving us alone, believe me,
Everyone else. Yeah,
Warner
but
Brothers is gonna leave us alone.
why do they want to mess with a product that's clearly doing well, doing
exactly.
what they're doing? So
Exactly.
and everyone says that. Like when something comes out, well, did you see the Rotten Tomatoes meter? It says this. I mean, it's the standard that the films are put through everywhere, not
Yeah.
just in LA, not just New York, everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So
and if
When
you're
you-
listening to this podcast, you probably know what Rotten Tomatoes is. But
Yes.
if you don't, I mean, that's why it's the website to go to, and it's a cool system they have. Is like if you have a movie, then it gets like 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's great. That's like
Right.
a Toy Story 3 thing. If it gets like 2%, that's like a Jack and Jill. So it's usually a pretty accurate
if that much.
indicator. Yeah. I don't know who the 2% were.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in this room.
Because you already have like an established way of doing it, the system, did it change at all when you got these new foster parents?
No, it didn't.
Never, huh?
They really honored it.
What's the only thing that's really changed for us is the other ancillary things that are on the site. But as far as getting reviews and the critics that are part of the tomato meter, like that hasn't changed.
Great.
When I came in, one of the things that we did is we started nailing down exactly what the criteria was, because prior to that, when they first started the site, it was, who's in which critics groups.
Right.
There's the New York Film Critics Circle, there's the LA Film Critics Society, there's these, or Critics Association, there's all these different ones around the country. And that
YouTube.
right? Well, so that was back then, 13 years ago, it was, oh, you're in one of these? Well, we'll put you on the tomato meter.
Right.
Now we're actually trying to say, look, actually what you need to do is you need to have this much traffic. If you're a website, you're publishing on the web, we want to see that you've got 500,000 users a month and that you're doing at least this many reviews a year and that there's some kind of editorial oversight. And really what it ultimately boils down to, the two things are the reach, how are you hitting a decent audience?
Right.
And in the absence of a big audience, is your writing good enough that we think you need to be heard? There's James Berardinelli, who I think is a great reviewer. Doesn't pull a lot of traffic, but Roger Ebert's been referencing him for years.
Right.
If you're getting referenced by Roger Ebert,
yeah, if Yoda says
right?
he's a Jedi,
exactly.
he's a Jedi.
Like right. Like if the head guy's saying, yeah, that guy's pretty good, then
Right.
that's good enough for us. The other part of it is some kind of editorial oversight. So we get a lot of people that apply that, hey, I've got this movie blog, I write a bunch, like.
So what you're saying is that Mark and I need to know Roger Ebert.
Probably. Well, you brought
next
up
ticket to Chicago.
you brought up the YouTube thing. Like that's one of the things that we actually hasn't really come up. A lot of things. The big holes for us so far have been, we don't pull a lot of online, video reviews, but we're not really covering TV reviews either. Gene Shalit, his reviews don't really end up on the tomato meter because he's not publishing anywhere. So it's been functionally hard for us to track down a review because with somebody like, for instance, Shalit, he'll do his review on a Friday morning and it goes out broadcast and that's it. like historically, they're not archiving those, so I don't have any place to link to.
Right.
Because for every review we put up for a movie, we've got to be able to link someplace.
Right.
You
So
can't
that-
get a link to Gene Shalit and his witty one-liners?
Right? His giant mustache?
Yeah.
His mustache should have its own site,
You
right?
should be able to hit the mustache and link to the video.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
The mustache on my tomato meter gets 100. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that much. That thing it's a thing of
100%
beauty.
fresh.
It's like Raleigh
Right.
fingers.
Yeah. Makes Sam Elliott look like me. I mean, it's a good
Let's
mustache.
not go ridiculous. All right, so well, let's say then what's the next phase then as far as video reviews go?
That's something that actually, based on like questions you've asked us, that's something that my team and I are talking about. Like we're looking at, we're starting to look at who's out there. We got the application. We just got to, we've kind of got a sense of who else is. We need to look at who else is out there. What kind of the baseline is. We need to try and establish a baseline, like who's getting a lot of reaction, who's getting.
Get the team on it. The doors are locked from the outside, my friend.
Right.
Now, is that all based on subscriber number and views?
Some of it, yeah. I mean, with websites or, the ones we do so far, like it's either online or it's print, right? And for online, like you can go on something like, what is it? Now I'm blanking on the name. There's, like Nielsen net ratings, and you can see objectively what somebody's traffic is like.
Right.
Right.
For magazines and newspapers, there's there's different services that will tell you how big that reach is. So,
Right.
In those cases, we can just look at the numbers and say, you know what, that's a major paper in a metropolitan area.
Right.
We'll pull those reviews. For something like a YouTube thing, like we haven't really, honestly, like we haven't really even started thinking about that till just this week. So, it's probably going to take us a few weeks to really wrap our heads around, going through, what are the various levels of subscription to, what's the average view, like
And
how
the
big a
quality
reach,
level.
and the quality level, like that's part of it, right? Like we've got to find. We want to find people. I know that, with a lot of people doing video reviews, there's not necessarily an editor saying, look, you need to tighten this up, you need to write this better, but there needs to at least be the appearance of professionalism. Like
Right,
somebody at
of
least
course.
sounds what they know,
Yeah, you can't just have two idiots
right.
in front of a Rocky
Right.
poster.
I mean,
Yeah,
a couple
so we're
of
out.
schmo- Oh, wait.
Right. Well, that's
Thanks for coming.
Exactly. I appreciate
All right,
it.
bye.
Well, that's the thing, though, too, is that I guess that the amount of numbers that you have, too. And, Mark, I guess we would be looked at as pioneers if this thing does go through.
Look, we took the YouTube forest and we turned it into condos, man. We're the.
There are a lot of great reviewers out there, too, and I definitely think that...
I'm like the Santa Maria of YouTube reviewers.
It's true.
I hit the mainland.
You listen to
and
Van
I
Halen.
colonized it.
Super humble.
Super humble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things we'll probably, with this is not something we've really gotten into with print and online, but maybe, one of the things we've kind of talked about this internally is, do we start looking at what people's qualifications are? Like, what's their background, right? Like, you worked for Silver, right? So the implication there is that you know something about production, you know something about film. So there's other considerations that we might have. Part of why we insist on editorial oversight and part of why we've gone with numbers in the past is that the assumption is that if the New York Times has got somebody writing for them, then they've done all the vetting. Then by someone getting a job working for a major publication, somebody else has gone through the whole qualification process, right? But that world is changing. We are aware of that, right? Like there are people who are self-publishing. There's people who have their own blogs. I mean, we keep talking about how, there are some people who their reviews will go up on the site no matter where they write. If Roger Ebert stops working for the Sun-Times tomorrow and starts just posting on his own personal blog, we'll still pull those reviews. Of course. Right? There's a few critics like that. But for the most part, it's mostly outlets. But, with YouTube reviewers and more on the web, there's less of that. So we are having to kind of modify and pay attention to what the critical landscape looks like.
Right.
There's got to be something amazing about the process of even going through these applications and watching some horrendous YouTube videos. I mean, that's like a montage in itself. I'd like to watch.
But at least that, though, even that, at least you get to watch something. I can imagine the bad submissions you've gotten that you've had to read.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh,
You know what
wow.
I mean? I remember reading bad scripts, and it's just like, but at least there's like zombies or something to keep you through it.
Yeah.
There's some, we get applications, and some people you look at and you're like, right? Like some guy's like, oh, yeah, I've had this website, I've been watching movies since
You don't
I
have
was
to
in
talk about my
college,
show like that. So
No,
public.
but there's some people, it's like,
It's written in crayon. I saw Jaws 4 times in one day.
I mean, you get people that are, it's I love movies, I want to write about movies.
Right.
I'm like,
You're like, okay.
Congratulations.
You got
okay,
spunked.
so write about movies, but
Well, here's a question then for those people that are listening that don't want to be reviewers and clearly love movies, and that's why they're listening, and thank you for that. So what exactly does certification then mean for someone? Let's say the schmoes know and Catherine Reitman become YouTube certified. What does that mean?
It means a couple of things. I think the main thing it means is
Do we get a fruit basket or anything?
Candy bar. We send out candy bars.
I'm
we
in.
send out tomatoes. Of course.
There you go.
No, I think what it means is that, at least as an organization, we feel that person has gone beyond whether or not they just liked a movie. They can actually explain why a movie works.
They can articulate it.
Yeah,
And
they're
part of
critical
it
thinkers.
is understanding the difference between someone who goes and sees a movie and somebody who looks at it with a critical eye, right? I mean, that's the thing that we get asked all the time. Like, do critics matter? What's the difference? Isn't the audience score more important? Isn't the audience reaction more important? Blah, blah, blah. It's really apples and oranges. And to me, certification would mean that you've graduated out of the one group and have proved that you can be thought about, think the way that the other group thinks. And
It means that Michael Bay can't just fool you with explosions anymore.
Sort of. The difference is, and this is one of the things that I come up against all the time, and the studios like to play this game with us. They'll say, clearly the audience doesn't understand this. Clearly the audience get it. The critics don't get it.
Right.
Like Twilight, for instance. The Breaking
Which
Dawn.
Kristian loved. I mean, the guy
Biggest
was...
fan in the room.
Yeah,
Well,
I will leave if we mention that movie.
How's that one right before you got the kid coming?
Right? Actually, you're not the first person to ask me that for sure. I think you asked me the second we got out of that thing. It was such a joke that it didn't bother me.
The difference is, are the people that are fans of Twilight going to be happy with that film? Like, on a certain level, the audience scores measure in my mind, and there's a great article that came up on Entertainment Weekly this last week, and it's really affected the way I think about it, because it was the first time somebody put it that way. Because I'd always thought about, like, the audience, for the most part, as a society, we're good at picking movies we think we're going to like.
Yeah.
Right? Rarely, which is why you see people get upset about something like Drive.
Right.
Because they feel like they've been a bait and switch. But it's different than that. Actually, the more subtle shading of that is the audience number reflects how good the marketing was.
Right?
Yeah, very
Right?
true.
That's what I think, because the audience goes into that with the most of the audience, not everybody, but I think most of the audience reaction is based on, did the marketing materials
Do it
accurately
justice.
reflect what I ended
way
up,
that I thought it.
right?
Right.
And if so, was it good enough that I then go and rate it? Which it's kind of like this double self-selecting pool.
Well,
right?
especially with something like Twilight, too, and it's like me, like when I saw Phantom Menace for the first time, it's you go in there and you just have blinders on because you want to like
Right.
it. So these teenage girls
Exactly.
want
Right.
to go crazy
Right.
for it.
Exactly.
So they're
It's kind of
going
like
to
you guys
like
in the
it.
Muppets.
Right.
Yeah. It's like
Right.
regardless of if they liked it or not, they're going to like it.
Right.
You know?
It's,
Right.
like a Michael Bay Transformers movie, right? Like
Yeah.
you've seen all the marketing materials, you know what you're getting into.
Right.
Those, and you know what? Those trailers absolutely reflect what you're getting in those films.
Well,
The Transformers 3 trailer was a lot better.
Well,
They
Agreed.
fooled me.
They didn't
because I
show.
saw-
Well, they didn't show the comedy in that one. That's the
right.
difference.
But
Yeah.
but the difference with critics is that a critic goes to a movie like Breaking Dawn,
Right.
and ostensibly, in my mind, says, "Is this the best movie that could be made out of this source material?"
Right.
Right, and that's the difference, because or like a Transformers movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the best movie you could make out of robots that turn into cars?
No.
Right? No, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Didn't have to think about that one, did you?
We just got certified.
Right, exactly. You guys are in. But the audience goes to that. It's like, oh, it's the audience is coming in like after seeing all of those trailers, and they get exactly what they've seen in the trailers, right? Whereas
Yeah.
a critic goes into that and says, all right, this is a movie about giant robots that change into vehicles, but could this have been better? And almost every critic in that case said yes, it
Right.
could.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Almost every fan was like, yes, this could have been a lot better.
And
Yeah,
it-
dead
that's
people
what-
thought
yeah.
so.
Right,
It's
exactly.
true. Well,
Unless you have the blinders on. But I understand that people go into movies like that. They're like, there's people that are looking forward to Transformers and they want to see robots fight
But-
each other, and that's what they think they got.
Right, but it's also like you mentioned the trailers too, and we had Craig Platt on here, who's the vice president over at Trailer Park, who cuts the trailers too, and you really. And if you go back in the day and watch how different trailers were as opposed to now, I mean, that's like you said. It's,
One man, Schwarzenegger, Predator.
That's it. Yeah.
Here's my trivia for the day. You know why they're called trailers, right?
I have no idea.
Because they used to trail the film. You got the trailer after the movie.
Interesting.
Right? Like, this is back in the day.
Wondered that.
This is back in the day of, when you had, matinees and 3 or 4 movies, you'd get a newsreel and a cartoon. You'd get the newsreel, you'd get your cartoon, you'd get your film, and after the film, you'd get your trailer.
So it wasn't advertising at all.
Well, it was
like a bonus.
It wasn't a trailer for that movie. It was the trailer for the next movie.
For the next
But they were
time.
calling it
Okay.
trailers because it trails the whole...
Let me ask you that then. Who's being the stubborn asshole here? Then why did the green screen that they show, it still says the following preview? Can we just decide what to call these things? Is it a preview or is it a trailer?
Well,
Let's just agree
now,
on
right?
one.
Yeah.
Right,
It's just,
it's
Then
just
why do
kinda
we call
always-
it trailers?
Because it's just in there.
Because the name Trailer Park sounds much better than Preview Park.
That's right.
That's why.
That's right.
Well,
But
it's like you'll hear people, and you can tell the older guys, and I'm sure you came up with this or came up against this, hearing this at Silver. Like, you'll hear somebody who's in the industry for a long time. They'll say, in the third reel of this film, it gets a little weird.
Yeah.
Right? They don't use reels anymore. Come on.
Right.
It's all digital.
Right.
What the hell's a reel?
Right.
The third reel, this picture, the whole thing falls apart.
Exactly.
It's the lingo. The lingo will always stick, no
Right.
matter what. I mean, that's kind of the fun of being in the movie business in general. But I mean, going
Right.
back to
They
what
call
you
them
said as
films.
far- right? That's
Right.
right. And
Whatever.
yeah, so talk to George Lucas about
I still
that.
call them
Yeah.
talkies. I don't know about you guys.
But
You're alone.
we mentioned as far as trailers go, like, and sometimes you polish a turd because, like, look at The Last Airbender. As where that trailer was
Right.
really
Was
good too.
great.
And then what I'm curious about too, because I can't say if it's good or bad yet because I haven't seen it, but the Huntsman, Snow White and the Huntsman trailer,
Yes.
is one of the best trailers that's come out so far. And it's very funny that Kristen Stewart is in about as much of that as Woody Harrelson is in the Hunger Games trailer. Like, maybe a
Right.
split second.
Wow.
You don't
And
see
she's the
Snow
star.
White a lot in
Hardly.
the Snow
And she
White
doesn't
trailer?
say anything because they know
They're protecting their audience.
they know that they don't want to say, oh, this is another Twilight. This is something different. And who they show a lot of is Thor.
Yep.
And that's the kind of audience they're going after. So the question is now, are they going to is that the kind of film we're going to have, or are we going to have that kind of Twilight-ish crap?
Yeah, did they have to cut the trailer like that to get people to see
Right.
the movie, or was
Right.
it because trailers are also their own artistic endeavor at this point? It's an art
Yeah.
form in itself. It's just making a good trailer. So maybe they just wanted it to look cool, or maybe they're like, we got to hide as much of this shit as possible.
Yeah, because sometimes
Right.
you can get tricked. Even if a movie's decent, it'll become less because
like look at Drive. Right?
Drive
like
and
Drive, they were making that look like Fast and Furious.
Yes, right.
Whereas the reality is that
Misleading.
movie's slow and serious.
and
right?
it's an art, and it's like an art house film more than
Right.
anything
Total
else.
art film.
And another one was The Adjustment Bureau. They show that movie. I thought it was like Dark City 2, and it's a love story.
Yeah.
It's a love story.
Exactly. But if they pitched it that way, people wouldn't have gone.
Right.
Right. Well, yes and no, because my wife.
But then the audience gets misled, and they're frustrated.
It's the misleading part that frustrated me. 'cause,
Right,
well,
but they don't care because you can, as long as you get your money in your first weekend, if it drops off in that second
They
weekend
don't
of the
care,
box
right.
office.
Right.
See, well,
Whatever.
So you're frustrated. Not my problem.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it is. It's something like The Adjustment Bureau. When I saw the trailer, I was thinking, I love Dark City. It's one of my, I love that movie. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be cool. And it wasn't that movie. Then I showed my wife, like months later, telling her that it's a love story and that's it. And she loved the movie. So it is one of those.
Well, your wife
things
also likes those hats.
that it's true.
That's
very true. It was all
Big
about the
Emily Blunt
hats.
fan, yeah.
But I mean, but that's just going to Matt's point, the fact that like the trailer, if it delivers what it is, then I think it is the movie that was best suited for it.
But they're
Right.
easier to pull. Like when we do trailer reviews, I always schmo them pretty high because if you have all this raw footage, it's a lot harder to make a good 2 hours out of that than it is to make a good
Not
2
always.
minutes.
Battleship.
I thought the Battleship trailer was
Come
cool.
on.
Man. I thought that was cool.
Come on, what are we looking at Transformers? Who
Yeah,
cares if
you
it's
get aliens, you get other. But again, the Transformers trailer
Yeah, but
also.
it's a lot better than two kids sitting around a couple of boards like F9. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we're talking a lot about like action movies. I mean, comedy trailers that I've been seeing. They put every joke in it.
Mm-hmm.
What I really loved was recently Paranormal Activity. I mean, that's not a comedy, but the fact that they put so much
Nothing
bogus
in the movie,
material in the
yeah.
traitle.
Some people are pissed off about it. I love that.
I love that.
Maybe Matt, do you have any insight on this? Because we actually got shit on our review because they said that none of the stuff that you guys put in your review, none of the clips were in the movie, and we're like, look, that's the trailer, guys.
That's what we have to work
gotta
with.
go on.
I think
was that intentional?
I probably
Had to have been.
It
Had to have
been.
It was so
yeah.
cool the way they completely misled you.
I
They didn't
thought it
really
was great.
mislead you, but you went in there and so you're expecting one thing to happen and something else entirely
Well,
happens.
because
It
it's
was cool.
the cheapest movie in the world. They rented a house across from the street that they were shooting in, and they're like, "Hey, today you want to
Yeah.
try a little bit of this?" So they had
Right.
all this footage sitting around. So,
I love that.
So they can totally, and the fans, I don't know,
But the-
I'm a big
but
fan.
So when you play Bloody Mary at home tonight, make sure you get alternate angles.
That's right.
You don't know which one's going to be the
Do
best.
one with a sister and do one with some weirdo that works with your stepfather.
I think
babysitter.
that sometimes you'll see somebody shoot a trailer that doesn't have anything to do with the movie, and I think that can be really cool because I think that it's, and especially in this day and age, and especially for those of us who are seeing so many movies, it's a rare treat to go into a movie not really knowing that much about it. Like one of my favorite trailers a few years ago was the Comedian trailer. Seinfeld was the guy in the booth, right? That was hilarious.
Right.
Like the whole just joke on trailers in
Right.
general, right?
Right.
Like the meta trailer. I thought that was awesome.
See,
well,
and that's-
expectations in general play such a role in it.
Exactly.
Big time, and that's the thing though. Had Comedian or Paranormal Activity 3 been terrible movies, then that strategy doesn't work.
Right.
Because then then you're selling, not only you're selling bullshit that's not in there, then you're giving them crap. And they're like, well, nothing of that stuff, cool stuff in the trailer wasn't in the first place.
That's
But
right.
also, with PA3 though, like that's the Bloody Mary scene with the two girls playing it. That's in the trailer, and then you see like
The girl?
the Bloody
Well,
Mary
that's not
back
even
there.
accurate.
It's
a guy named Toby.
It works
Right, exactly.
But
That's
for
not
the
even a girl.
trailer, it
was
works
Candyman.
better. Because if you
That's right.
show that actual scene that's in the movie, that scene worked better for the movie to further the plot. But as far as like a standalone trailer, that's what you want to see, man.
Yeah,
that's
no,
that's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going to get.
I
money.
remember when I watched that.
So when it turns out that the Battleship trailer is really just kids sitting around the board, that's going to be awesome.
Right. Yeah, I hope.
If that's the actual movie,
then it turns into Jumanji.
Exactly.
Now, look, in their defense, it is electronic Battleship, so at least the board
right,
talks to you. So it's a
Just
little.
got a lot more
The
exciting.
only thing that movie has going for it is Neeson and Skarsgård, but it's got Rihanna.
It might be
in it.
aliens. There might be aliens. We just don't know.
Rihanna.
Rihanna's in it. Come on,
What? We hate on Rihanna, man.
you're a good sport. You really are. But yes, I mean that's the thing is that because one of the things that we had done last year, because Mark and I have been doing, we started on Current TV. And then we went from Current TV to YouTube.
We flirted with Rotten Tomatoes. We were.
Yeah, we were almost certified a long time
We were
ago.
waiting to get picked up to go to the prom.
Yeah.
I had my dress on.
And then they said maybe we should
sure
get.
you looked beautiful.
But
I
that
did.
was before the Atchity days. That was before they brought on the thinkers, the innovators. Because he's here, and we're talking about it. My thing was. The reviewing started. I hadn't seen a lot of movie reviews on YouTube. When we started, there were maybe one or two. Like Fury of the Film Fan was one of the first guys that I had ever seen. And to his credit, by the way, he was one of the first guys that I had talked to about his goal. Well, he doesn't do it anymore. He had stepped down recently, but he had said that. One of the things was to get the people that loved movies and talked about them intelligently and wanted to further stuff along and had a passion for movies as well too, and get that YouTube reviewing community certified, to get them recognized as people who not only are people who love movies, but people listen to their opinions.
Right.
So and I think that's what the thing now it's growing, and as Catherine said before too, as many good reviewers as there are
Oh
people
my
who
God.
are starting out.
Yes.
There are
Right.
people.
But I mean, you guys know from doing this, like it's not easy, and we found about, and not that I was producing the show, but from what little I had done, tangentially working with the Rotten Tomatoes show on Current as they were asking for video reviews. That's tough.
Very
That is tough. It is tough to talk to a camera and sound like you know what you're talking about.
Well, particularly
right?
because most of them
Don't look
aren't-
at me, man. I mean, I talk to the camera.
He's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, particularly because most of them aren't performers.
Right.
Like I'm a comedian, I'm an actor, so the transition to my show was very simple.
But you're also you also have a history in film, and you
Right. I grew up around it.
You grew up around it. I worked in it. Mark has been a fan for a long time too, and him and I have had conversations about it. So yes, the stand-up background definitely helps him as well. I totally agree. There are people out there that have that natural thing as well, but even comedians and even performers, like when Mark and I started doing it, there were some people that came on and they just
We've had some duds.
But it's just different because it's sometimes people get too jokey, and you have to be
Yes.
informative about the films.
Well,
There's
and-
got to be a combo.
Yeah.
Right, and part of it, it's just like a certain amount of training, right? Like, I mean, I've done my share of video and stuff, and I keep joking that I get more mileage out of my training as a tour guide at Universal than anyone possibly could imagine.
I love that.
And over here, it's a guy dressed
Exactly.
like Beetlejuice.
Exactly.
It's totally true, though, too, because even when we started, because when Mark and I first started, we didn't do the reviews together. We did them, like, we would cut in each other's footage, and then we're like, let's just do it together and try to play off one another. And it worked so much better because we can have conversations about the film and what we were excited about, and play off each other's either excitement or someone who's being negative on the film, and make it really.
You can openly see our disdain for each other, huh?
Right? And as we're Catherine's reviews and videos, where she puts that entertaining spin on it too, to where it's like she plays an extended version of herself in the videos too, but still is informing you on films. And I think that you have to be creative in your reviewing. You have to be knowledgeable. But I think there are a lot of reviewers out there, and I think that the community is building, and it makes me very happy to hear that you guys are looking that route.
Big time.
Yeah.
I think please.
No, go ahead.
I just feel like complaining more. Excuse me. I think one of my biggest frustrations with the YouTube, and I love the YouTube film community. I think it's been A, super supportive to a newbie like me, and B, it's actually a very cool group of people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that you want to go to house parties with these people.
Trust me, you do. With this guy, yeah.
But it's like a very grounded group, actually. Like
Very
the people
much so.
who are doing this. I think my biggest problem with it, though, is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of objectivity. Like, because it's a opinion-oriented program.
That's the internet, right?
Right, but there's no one like I have a whole production company with me, so they're going, all right, shorter, faster. I mean, we are every second shedding half a second is a big deal because everything has information in it or a joke in it. Every second is packed. When I look at some of these people where they're just staring at the camera for like 40 seconds. I don't even understand how they can get away with it.
Right, well, but I think that's also like anything else. That's when, there's cream of the crop type stuff, too. Like
I'm happy when they do. Weed out the competition, man. Keep staring and don't talk. Yeah. Don't say a word about the movie.
But no need for editing. No. Just post.
But it is funny that there are people like that, but for every person like that, there's the person who sits there and really, again, knows what they're talking about and has the quick cuts and has it, to make sure that they're at the 4-minute mark or the 3:30 or whatever it is, like every single time. So, I mean, there are a lot of reviewers out there.
I think the challenge with doing a video review, and as opposed to doing something in, say, the newspapers or even on radio, I think the challenge with a video review is that you have to be entertaining.
Big time.
Right? It's not like you've been assigned, a few inches of space in the Friday page of the LA Times, right? It's, these movies are coming out. Your editor at Entertainment Weekly wants to make sure that these movies get covered. People have a choice, and it's a performance, and it's it's almost along the lines of the people standing out in the middle of the 3rd Street Promenade trying to get your attention, right? Like, there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
There's, between like, why am I watching this when I could be playing some game online?
Right.
That's the trick, and I think that's where, honestly, it's probably going to be a lot tougher to really make compelling reviews. Because you've got to be entertaining. I do my web show with Alonzo and Christy and Ben.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
What the Flick.
What the Flick. Yeah, check that out. They're on YouTube as well, guys.
And Gray has joined us a couple of times.
Oh, great.
And oh my God, we ripped on Twilight this week.
Good for you.
And it was hilarious, right? But it's funny because like there'll be shows where it's
addicting too.
It's fun. It's fun to do this, but there'll be shows where, I get a little worried when we all are kind of in agreement about a movie. Like if we're all like on a scale of 1 to 10, if we're all at like 6 or 7, and we all kind of agree, I'm like, that's going to be kind of fun.
You got to get a really fat sound guy that you hate, and you just beat up on him. That's what I do every week.
Well, it's funny because one show it was Alonzo and I and Christy and one user, and if there's any time I'm feeling too full of myself, I start reading the YouTube comments about what we do, right?
Oh, yeah.
So wait, do you let it affect you? Because Kristian tells me I get too affected by it.
Can't.
A little bit. But there was one time somebody had said something I had said. I had liked some movie that Alonzo didn't care for, and one of them says, I like what Fat Beardo 1 said. I didn't care what Fat Beardo 2 said.
Oh, my God.
So I said to Alonzo, I'm like, which one was this Fat Beardo 1?
Was it Harold and Kumar?
Right? No, it was something before that. It was a few
I agree
months
with you
back.
on Harold Kumar, for sure. And I don't think you're a
Would it matter to you if you were Fat Beardo 1 or number 2?
Well,
Would you be like, well, at least I'm number 1?
So I said to Alonzo, and Alonzo says, I like to think we're all Fat Beardo 1 of our own.
Well played, number
Alonzo's
1.
awesome. We're going to have him on, too. He's going to talk about his Christmas book, which I'm really looking forward to reading.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Cool.
It's great.
Good. But check out What the Flick also, guys, because I've actually caught it a few times, and it's really entertaining. It's good to watch that your point of view. So welcome to our world, if you will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, is that it's a process, and it's fun, it's entertaining. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I loved about our viewers is that one of my favorite comments that we get is that they've said it feels like I have friends talking to me about.
Yeah,
this.
see, that's what we're kind of going for, and I think
Relate.
that's where video reviews online outside of like some established TV show, I think that's where the future is going to go, and I think that's where people are going to find success. It's like when you have to tune in, because it's about the relationship. It's like I want to see what my friend. I want to see what these guys are saying about a movie. I whether or not you agree, if you're entertaining about the way you talk to people about stuff, I think that's fun.
Yeah, and we have conversations with our. And we always see. The comments to me when they're talking about the movies, like we've had tons of movies where we've said some stuff and people haven't agreed with us, and they said, "Well, I think you guys are off because of this reason." And I encourage those conversations, and Mark and I we always write back our fans on our YouTube page and kind
of when they say something intelligent like that. When they tell me to go eat a cock meat sandwich, which has happened on more than one occasion, and I haven't tried it yet. It's not a popular delicatessen.
It's funny. Those same commenters must be talking to me too.
Stop selling those at In-N-Out, so it's all weird now.
It's so hard to find.
Yeah. So I mean, to have those conversations, like that's what we look forward to, and I think that it is. I think it's the next wave of just kind of how it's done. Like for movies.com is where we also do a segment for them as well. We do like a top 5 list, and they had told us, they want us to start doing it the way we do it. Our YouTube videos,
right?
They said they like the way that we're interactive, and they like the way that how they feels like comfortable. And we've put out 2 lists under that format so far, and they're doing pretty well.
I think that. It's as we're talking about being entertaining and talking about film, it's almost as if we're getting back to what made Siskel and Ebert popular back in the day, right? Because it's hard for anyone to do. I mean, even as we saw with the Rotten Tomatoes show, it's hard for a movie review show to survive in the way that we've seen it in the last 20 years.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the unique things about Gene and Roger was that they argued all the time. Back in the day, before the reality TV, and there was almost this voyeurism of watching these two guys.
And it can't be generic BS argument. It has to be
it's authentic.
Like these guys, these guys were legitimately disagreeing.
They
with
were at
each other.
You knew that they were friends, but this was a real argument that they were having.
You want to see that happen? Priest sucked.
Yeah, I liked Priest.
Cut it out. It's awful.
That movie was awesome.
No, you like Priest?
I thought it was really cool, man.
I love a good shitty movie. Can I say shit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I love
a cock meat sandwich.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
So wrong, it's right.
I didn't say it. One of the YouTube comments.
Sorry.
My wife and I are going to see Immortals tonight, and I can't wait.
It's cool.
You're going to have some fun. You're going to have fun.
I love a good bad movie.
It's not that movie though. For me, do you like Tarsum in general? Did you like The Fall?
I think The Fall's all right.
Okay, well, it's obviously
just a little arty for me.
Well, this movie's arty. It looks
plenty arty.
Now, look, it gets this. The movie.
It's not totally arty.
No. The fights are really cool, and it gets slow at times. But the fights, if you just get into for me, I loved it because even the boring parts, I would just stare at one of the mountains, and I felt like I was in a museum.
And by boring, you mean it's in order for a movie to be good or bad, there has to be a story, and there's not really one in this one.
There is.
I mean come on.
See, I like Priest. The reason I like a movie like Priest is I like when somebody takes a half-baked idea and goes completely all the way with it.
Yeah, but you're admitting it's a piss banana. You don't think it's...
totally.
Yeah, right.
No,
See,
I mean,
thought
Priest is not art.
Right.
I liked it.
When a movie is so wrong, it's right. I mean, you can watch it because you know exactly what's going on.
By the way, is that one of your ratings? It should be.
It sure is.
Oh, okay.
It sure is. Okay. I have to communicate the way I watch movies.
All right. That's the thing is that, Mark and I, the funny thing is when we first started doing it, there was a good stretch. It seemed like we agreed on everything.
We'll get in pockets where we agree on stuff, but then...
But it was fine, though. But it wasn't that big of a deal because...
As long as Paul Bettany's still acting, we'll disagree.
Yeah, it's true. But then especially recently, it's been the opposite. We've been on the same... It goes in waves.
Yeah.
It goes in waves. I mean, the thing is, like you said, you don't ever want to make it BS and I can't stand... there are certain times, and I'll look at Rotten Tomatoes, and there's a movie that everyone loves. Everyone loves it. And then there's one asshole that doesn't like it, and he doesn't like it because he wants somebody to click on his review. That's exactly why they do it.
And
exactly
that man's name...
Yeah, exactly. And you know
Fat Beardo
4. So, I mean, that's the thing is that I'm just so happy with the way it's kind of progressed. And Mark and I always pride ourselves in the fact that we will let it rip. If we agree, we agree. If we think that we're each other crazy, we'll tell each other.
But it's still entertaining, too. It's not like watching your grandparents argue at Red Lobster.
That's arguable. That is arguable.
That's the honest reason. And maybe I'm showing the wizard behind the curtain, but I do this because I like entertaining people.
Yeah.
And I would do book reviews, but I don't read. So we'll stick with movies.
Well, who wants to watch a book review?
Well, speaking of book reviews...
I think I could do a good book review. Well, I just can't read. I'll review Go Dog Go. That was the last one I read.
I want to ask Matt this now, too, off this show.
Oh, God, you're going to do it?
I got to ask him. What did you think of the Hunger Games trailer? Did you read the books?
Yeah, did you read the books?
No.
Is the question.
Okay, so
thank God there's somebody else in the universe that didn't read these things.
I think
Mark.
the trailer looks all right.
Okay.
I'm not blown away by it, but I think it looks interesting. Yeah.
And
My take on it, Matt,
please don't be
was-
one of these battle royal guys, because it's just similar to the fact they fight in a death match.
I mean,
that's it.
look,
that's it.
Does it make me think a little bit of Battle Royale? Yes.
Right. But Star Wars made you think of the Seven Samurai.
But yeah, I guess.
Come on, you think
I
about
guess.
Flash Gordon.
Right, or the Searchers.
Right.
But isn't
All right.
every movie just another
Yes,
version
exactly.
of it?
Well,
That's my
yes,
point.
right.
You're gonna link 'em all.
There's 10 stories.
There's a lot of cover bands in movies,
Right.
you know.
Right. No,
There's no original.
You know, did it make me think a little bit of Battle Royale? Yes. Did I think that it was going to be like lots of Japanese kids getting their throats slashed left and right?
Right.
No.
No,
right.
what Hunger Games is going to be exactly like is Twilight, because there's a lot
No,
of
you
trying-
stop it. You stop
I'm
it.
kidding.
Get kicked right out of here.
But okay, Matt. So you didn't know that much about the Hunger Games like me, and so I saw the first teaser. I was a little confused, but I thought, okay, cool, it's just a teaser. The second trailer, the full length one, I was like, I saw the way the future looked. And I'm like, this looks a little silly, but I'm into it. But by the end, man, when they're about to go do the Hunger Games or whatever, I was like, I want to see what happens next.
I think it's. I'm hopeful. That's one of those,
5.
right? Like I
4.
watched the trailer. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued.
Right.
I'm
Okay,
intrigued.
good. See,
I'm
that-
interested.
it did
And I
its
think
goal.
the trailer's
Right.
kind of done
I
its
haven't
job.
heard
And
anybody-
right now, I'm on a perch where all the fans are begging me to read the books because they want to know my take on it. Are you going to stay strong with me, and are you not going to read these things?
He's a lot busier than you
until
are.
the movies come out.
I'm reading comic books these days.
That's my boy. Well done.
He's a lot busier than
Well
you.
done.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. My wife got into the whole DC reboot, so I'm reading comics
A lot of
again
time.
Man,
A lot of
you
time.
lucked
because
out.
of my wife.
Your wife is also a big T-shirt fan, right?
Yes.
See, we have to talk to. We're sponsored by Ripped Apparel now, and
nice.
we should talk to your wife
Very
about
nice.
that as well too, because there's some really good deals in there. But that's me plugging Ripped Apparel. How do you like that?
Well
Well
done.
played.
I didn't
Really
even think you
smooth,
meant to do
really
it.
Good.
smooth.
I didn't mean to do it. It was by
Yeah,
accident.
she has many shirts from Ripped.
Oh yeah, see, there we go.
Me and
So-
Harloff-
too.
I'm
Surrounded
glad
by
we got
pros.
sponsored by him because Harloff's bank account was going down the toilet.
It's true.
It's only $10 a shirt, but he would go on there every day.
I just got a good one today. It's Ben Sabers. It's a really
Nice,
good one.
nice. No,
Really good one.
my wife checks out T-Magnet every day.
T-Man, right?
Because it links in like 10 or 20 daily update T-shirt sites,
Right.
and she's had these months where it's like I've ordered too many this month.
Yeah.
And I told her, I'm like, well, the really funny thing is that she orders them for Gabriel, our 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And so he's got all these goofy, fun shirts, and
Coolest kid in school.
And right, so
Absolutely.
he says to her one day, he says, "You know, Mommy, I love all these shirts you get. Why do you keep getting them? Because they're funny, right?" And she says, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah, although sometimes I don't always get the jokes."
But he still wears them. That's
But he
a good
still
kid.
wears them.
That's a good sport.
That's a good
Yeah.
kid.
Wise beyond his ears.
Yeah, it's true. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has come out that we're. I think that we're all pretty excited for.
You know,
too.
I got to tell you, speaking of trailers, the trailer that I liked this week, that I was surprised that I liked as much as I do, 21 Jump Street.
You know what?
Interesting.
I think that trailer's hilarious.
I haven't seen it
I'm
yet.
actually with you, and I was expecting to hate that movie. But why? And I said this to you after I saw it. What they're not doing is they're not revamping the series. They're playing like a little joke on it, and it's where they say at one point they're like, "We're going to go and we're going to do this. We're going to bring life back into this program that we had in the '80s."
Yeah.
And then they
Right.
totally call out that Chatting Chat or whatever his name is. That he
His name's Channing Tatum.
Channing
Christian.
Tatum. Channing-
You gotta get
Chatty
this
Chat
down.
Chat.
Chatty Chat Chat. I don't know. When he was in. See, he threw me off because when Chatty Chat Chat goes back to high school and they call him out on it, they go, "You look like you're 40, dude."
Yeah.
You know, and it's like
Right.
Yeah.
they never did that in the 21 Jump Street.
Right.
No,
So-
you know, that movie looks to me like there's something about it. The trailer started to make me think of Superbad, which I think they're absolutely going for.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Right. But I think that movie is going to, hopefully, what I hope it does is, if that movie does to 21 Jump Street what Starsky and Hutch should have done
Right.
to the original
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
spoofing it without being like
It-
just.
like,
Without
it's not
stillering
like-
it.
They're not
Yeah,
Naked
exactly.
Gun 3ing it.
Right.
Yeah. Totally. It looked, and I was shocked because I thought I was going to be like, "Why are they doing this?" But it definitely looked entertaining. That came out.
Reboot.
Yeah. Well,
And when does the movie come out?
I don't
When
know.
does 21 Jump Street come out?
Sometime next year, I'm sure. It's not this year.
Okay.
Yeah, probably in a
No.
couple months if they've got.
Yeah,
the
they're
trailer
not
already.
trying to get in for the Oscars.
No.
No, I mean the problem is if it opens in January or February, that probably tells you all you need to know, right?
Right.
Like as we all know,
Yeah.
like,
Well, January is
wide releases in January and February. Like,
toilet bowl.
ugh.
Yeah,
Dead.
January is usually the toilet bowl, and
Yeah.
then February you might.
I don't know, man. Season of the Witch was really good. I'm kidding.
That will make the
we
top 10
won't fight about
stink
that
list
one.
for sure. Well, here's something though too. Mentioning that you bring up Season of the Witch, I know we're going to do like a whole big list towards the end of the year, but I'd like to know where Matt is. Kind of what do you have a favorite movie of the year and a stinker of the year so far?
You know,
Besides Priest.
I of the last few that I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Just saw Arthur Christmas today.
Oh, how great was that
Loved
movie,
it.
right? See, I told you guys.
Love The Descendants.
Really
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yep.
Really
Those are my
like The
favorites.
Descendants.
Can I ask you?
Fantastic.
I got a question about The Descendants to ask you. The boyfriend, Sid.
Yes.
What do you think of that performance? I'm torn on it.
I thought that kid was great. I totally bought it.
But
Me
our point.
too.
Yeah, I felt like he was like he annoyed me being in the movie a little bit, but then I started thinking, is that a film device? Because I felt I could empathize more with George Clooney because as a viewer I'm watching it and I want Clooney to be able to bond with his daughters and I don't want anything
And
to
this
interrupt
annoying
that.
kid is
and
He's
then
an
and then this
obstacle, right.
kid Sid is right there,
Yeah.
and so now I feel more like Clooney. I walked out of the damn movie wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I felt more like him, and so maybe it was
Even
a
though
genius
you're actually
device.
more like the kid.
What?
No, Mark's much funnier than that kid. I'll tell you, because that was the thing. Though, is watching it, like he was, and that was the thing. Is when I was watching this kid, and he's throwing out these jokes, and they're not funny, and I'm like, this kid has pissed me off. Then I'm like, wait a minute, he's supposed to not.
Is that
he's
part of
supposed
the
to be,
Right.
he's supposed to be-
Absolutely.
He is supposed to be.
No, I
teen-
think that kid was great.
Yeah,
I think that kid was
Alexander
great.
Payne
he
is a
was great.
genius.
Yeah, no, he was great.
Yeah,
And
in a
everybody
different
else-
movie, I'd be worried about it, but it's Alexander Payne. You
Yeah,
bring up a really good point.
Yeah.
Who has a really tight filmmaker, right? He's
Absolutely.
not going to waste a role like that. He's not going to put some actor in there
No
that's
way.
not going to be up to the task of playing that role.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I didn't see an actor playing that role like I saw the
Sid,
annoying
yeah.
kid.
Yeah,
I saw
he
Sid.
was so authentic.
Right.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah,
agree.
and I was torn for a little bit watching the movie, but then there's that scene in the hotel room where it's just Clooney and him, and they have that, and it gets a little deeper than you thought it would.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, this
and it's
is
still about as deep as Sid can get.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
no,
it's beautiful
great.
for that purpose.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know what it
that's-
made me think of? It made me think of the one, like, and it's probably one of the best moments I've ever seen Keanu Reeves do, honestly, is
Parenthood.
in Parenthood.
Is that
Right? You know exactly what I'm talking about,
Yes.
right? Where he's talking about, he starts talking about his dad and, like, like throwing lit cigarettes at
Yes,
him. And then there's, like, this pause.
yeah.
And he shakes his head. He's like, "Whoa!" And like suddenly comes back to his sense. But it's like that's an amazing moment. And anyone who
Diane
talks
Reeves.
about Reeves being a shitty actor, I'm like, you know
gotta
what?
watch that.
He can actually act.
Well,
and I think that
you
was,
can
he,
also
was he
watch-
acting or was he stoned out of his mind?
whatever.
He was
Also watch-
fantastic in that
It was
movie.
great.
You guys
I mean,
are
we actually
crazy.
no. I'm with you. I think he
Yeah.
was amazing in the movie. But that's about it. Then you can just say Point Break. Oh, I am an FBI.
Hey,
Whatever, that
hey.
movie's awesome.
Yeah.
Of course it is. But he's not great in the movie.
No, he's not great in the
movie's
movie, but-
awesome. And that's
but
that's
that's
again
also-
direct.
I don't want to
style
hear
of
any
movie.
bad talk about Johnny Utah. You said you'd never do that on
Look,
this podcast.
I love
You
him
want to talk
in that
about
movie.
Bram Stoker's Dracula? We can
I
talk
smell
about
a
that.
Hold on, wait,
divorce.
let's talk about Keanu Reeves real quick. He is one of my favorite bad actors of all time because he's one of those guys. There are bad actors you never like. Joshua Jackson, get him out of my life.
Right.
But like,
I don't think Joshua Jackson's that
stop
bad.
it.
You kill this
Stop
poor
it.
kid.
But with Keanu Reeves, when Keanu Reeves is there, I'll watch him every single time because he's likable and I want to watch him be bad.
I think for the most part with Reeves, except for the Shakespeare movie he did with Ken Branagh. I think that
Shakespeare and
right?
Keanu Reeves is the best joke of the day.
I think that when Reeves is working with somebody who's actually directing his performance and like an actor director, you're going to get something good out of him. But when he's doing action movies, like who's paying attention? What
I
the
got an
action-
exception for you, though. What
Speed?
about Something's Gotta Give? Opposite.
action movie?
No, but I'm saying.
I thought he was good in that. I thought he was good in
I
that.
couldn't watch him in that.
He was great in Speed.
He was great in Speed.
Yeah.
Again, the action
Right, I
movie.
mean, he's
you,
great
you
in The
get what you
Matrix.
get.
Yeah, if he's going back in,
Fantastic.
if he's going back in time
Yeah.
to get Billy the Kid.
But again, Keanu Reeves can do it.
Right, that's perfect.
I am a fan of Keanu Reeves.
I keep hearing rumors that they're going to make another one of those.
I think it's
Yeah,
it's
they
somehow,
said- they
right?
said-
Bill and
So
Ted
happy.
3 would be.
Well, what's Alex
epic.
Winter doing? He's working a
Oh, he's
Cartoon
busy.
Network or something. Yeah. Now, what about worst? What do you got for the worst? What's rotten?
Twilight.
The worst of the year.
Wow.
Breaking
Wow.
Dawn is one of the worst movies I've seen all year.
High five and make it count.
Wow.
Yes, you hear that
Wow.
slap?
Worse even than Jack and Jill. And Jack and Jill was a bad
it
movie.
was the worst. I
Yeah.
see.
That's- I can't go there.
I'll give you my three worst, and I'm going to go Bucky Larson, Jack and Jill, and Twilight. I do think I'm
In what order?
that order. Bucky Larson first,
Worst.
Jack and
Worst.
Jill, and
Okay.
then Jack and Jill gets to save you. Hey, at least Al Pacino has a couple things that made me laugh throughout the movie. Twilight, the only reason that it's just because I think for what it was.
Oh, no.
No! I hated it.
How is-
I gave it. Wait! I gave it 1.5 out of 5 schmoes. It's a terrible movie.
I was shocked that you went that high.
and it's a shitter. It's
That's
a
too high.
But
Wait a minute. You guys think that movie is better than Sanctum?
Ooh, I don't know.
I think Sanctum's worse
here's
than
the reason.
that.
Twilight
but
is much better than
Twilight and
Sanctum.
Sanctum are in the same category, and here's why. Because the
No.
different. Yes, because here's the reason. Because when you have a movie like Jack and Jill, okay, the reason why Jack and Jill is worse than Twilight is because Adam Sandler has his audience. Okay, no one who likes Adam Sandler movies will like that movie. Twilight fans will still like this piece of shit no matter what, because it's still, for that audience, they'll still like it. Like, no one who likes anything about comedy or anything will like Jack and Jill. No one likes that movie. Same thing with Bucky Larson. You can be a fan of...
Yeah, but that's different because Adam Sandler, it's about jokes. Jokes actually have to be good.
Right. No.
The Twilight,
I think we're on
same point.
I think we're on the same point.
Got it.
Continue. I will say that Breaking Dawn is worse than Jack and Jill. I think
for you, though, but not for its audience.
Well, I want to hear why, Matt.
I think in general, because I think that Jack and Jill... if you were to cut out all of the Al Pacino stuff,
right,
then
unwatchable.
It's unwatchable. Yeah. But Pacino's performance in there and just what they do with him is so gloriously insane.
Yeah.
How could you it's that anyone would do that in any movie?
Right.
Like
it's embarrassing though.
I felt bad for him. I laughed.
It's self-parody. Like the whole donut.
So embarrassing.
Like
the donut thing at the end.
That he was willing to do that is so epic, and I think that it was genius.
Yeah. You actually love him for it.
I love him for it. I love that he's up there rapping lines from his movies.
I'm on side.
I thought he's just shameless.
I thought that was the scene that jumped the shark.
That broke his heart. I actually enjoyed that as well.
He's got the funniest line in the movie when like his Oscar breaks and they say, and Jill says, "Oh, you have more of those, right?" He's like, "You'd think so."
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the best line in the whole movie.
Really funny, but the thing is, I think that as a whole, that movie is so bad, and like there's no one that's an Adam Sandler fan.
Well, okay, going back to my point about critics looking at, could that movie be as good as possible? Could there be a better movie about Adam Sandler playing his own twin sister?
Absolutely.
Really?
I think yes, there could be.
You got to get rid of Dennis Dugan, man. Dennis Dugan, you got to get rid of him.
I think there could be.
Yes.
But I think that
it'll be tough,
right? But I don't think
right.
it's as. I don't think
it's not promising.
I don't think that the reality versus the potential is as far apart as Breaking Dawn.
That's true.
And I think could a better movie be made out of the Breaking Dawn source material?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on. Yes, but you don't make two parts.
First of all,
if you made it one.
Yeah. I think it could, and I think you have to almost start from scratch writing the script. My problem with Breaking Dawn is, for instance, they don't even fix the dialogue, right? Like there's the argument where they're having where, she's trying to get all on top of him and he pushes her away. He says, "No, Bella, don't." And she's like, "No, you don't."
I know.
Come on. Who wrote this?
And they're playing chess for 45 minutes.
I kind of disagree, though, because the source material, that's actually what happened.
I understand. It's I understand. It's terrible.
Wolves talking through
your eyes.
But
I think that could have been fixed. I think that we've seen, for instance, I think that, in The Lord of the Rings, which I have read 19, 20 times, right? They make mass changes to adapt that to the screen.
Right.
To make it
Purists are pissed off, but you know what?
It made it better.
It makes a better movie.
Yeah. Right? And I think that that's what would need to be done to Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, but also the thing is with Lord of the Rings that you had quality actors.
Well, you had quality actors and you started with quality source material. I get that. But I think that, Bill Condon has shown that he's a good filmmaker in the past. What sticks out to me in Breaking Dawn is there's a couple of moments in there that are actually effective moments, right? Like the way they shot the vows. There's bits of the
wolves attacking each other. The special effects look better.
The wedding in general, I thought was beautiful.
I thought the wedding was
great.
Parts
of the wedding are really
funny
good.
Moments
parts
in there.
of it.
I want to bomb that wedding.
Parts of the wedding, like the toasts and stuff. Like that's kind of funny, but it so sticks out. Like there's these moments of artistry in what is otherwise so slavishly done to this shitty book.
And indulgent as hell.
And indulgent as hell. And okay, here's my impression of everybody in that movie talking to everybody else.
Like they're just staring. Right? Can you imagine if Sofia Coppola would have directed it?
Oh my God.
It would have been staring for 4 hours.
Oh my God.
I guess that could have been worse.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're right.
You know what it should be? Dennis Dugan directing that.
Oh my God! See, that would have been better.
God bless it.
That would have been better because at least they would have acknowledged that Taylor Lautner was about it.
What I will say is that the other thing, amongst the disappointments in that movie is when they keep talking about how the baby's a monster and it's going to kill her and blah blah blah.
Yes.
And when you finally see the baby, it's beautiful.
Right.
And I'm thinking,
and computer generated.
Right. And I'm waiting for okay, they deliver the one baby, and then I'm waiting for the lizard baby
the
from
demon
V,
baby.
to come out, crawl itself out, and be like, ah.
Yes.
That's.
And we said this in our review too. One of the things that always bugs me about Twilight, especially in this one, the vampires. Sorry, ladies, are such pussies.
Yeah.
They are.
Agreed.
But if you don't know that going into this one,
no, but they were better in the other ones.
It's not real vampires. The werewolves are pussies too, because you know how you kill a werewolf in a real werewolf movie?
Silver bullet,
You know how you kill them in these? feelings, emotions. That's the only way you kill
come on.
him.
We all know that the definitive werewolf vampire movie, Underworld.
Damn right it is.
on.
Damn right it is.
And what this movie lacked, there was a severe lack of Kate Beckinsale and patent leather shooting people.
Yeah, I know.
I'll even get on board with that.
And real werewolves hate it when it's a full moon. Like they get locked up in a barn, but these Twilight kids are running around hoping the shit happens.
The argument scene with the werewolves in there is so
It's so
funny.
bad.
It's
It's
laughable.
so stupid.
Well,
I thought it was. We talked about this last week on the podcast. Is that the argument is so it's like so look who's talking. But
Right.
then when they actually faced off each other, I kind of got it. Okay, look, me and Catherine and my Bella Twilight fan cup are going to take it over to, and you guys aren't invited to our book club.
You are not invited.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's
Fair
going to be
enough.
really good food.
Well, listen,
Cheese plate.
we're
sure.
we're hitting the end of our podcast, and I definitely, Matt, it was really cool to have you in here, and I appreciate a lot of insight. And we hope
thanks.
that one day the Schmoes and Miss Wright will be part of the Rotten Tomatoes community.
You probably won't have to hope for too long.
Oh,
All
breaking
right.
news, guys!
There's rotten vegetables in our future.
Right, I like it. But one of the things that I would like to, we can ask Matt. Matt, you don't have to necessarily answer this right now. If you want to wait on it, that's fine. Last year, we did a thing called the You Reviewers Awards. And it's where all the YouTube community, the movie reviewer community, it was like the Critics Award, but more like the You Reviewers Awards. So this year we're going to be doing it again. And if you and What the Flick would love to do a segment, we would love to have you on.
Oh, we'd love
great.
to do that.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
that'd be great.
Okay, cool. So
That'd be
You do have to do it topless. I don't know if did you say that already or
I don't know if YouTube's ready for that.
Oh, they're ready.
they're ready. So, guys, I'd like to definitely thank Matt once again for coming in. We had a lot of fun. And, check out, if you don't know Rotten Tomatoes, get back out of space. It's RottenTomatoes.com. And Catherine Reitman, YouTube.com/Catherine Reitman. The Schmoes, as always, YouTube.com/Schmoes Know. And comment on this iTunes, rate it, and let us know. And if you have any questions, send them on in. All right, guys, thanks a lot.
see you guys.
Bye.